Did you know that the average American approaching retirement has less than $100,000 in their 401k? What do you think? Is that enough to retire? Now, admittedly, that's not all of their money probably, right? They likely have money in different retirement accounts, but let's go for a walk and decide if this is enough to retire, and if it's not enough to retire, what folks can do about it. And spoiler alert, unfortunately, it's not enough, but I'm going to give you a strategy where you can increase your cash flows by about 40%. So be sure to stay until the end. Okay, now let's go for the walk. Okay, so it's an exciting time in the financial advising world. As I record this, Fidelity just released their annual numbers of what Americans have saved in their 401k balances. The average 55 to 64-year-old has $89,000. The average 65 plus person has $88,000, so about the same. If you're curious, the average 45 to 54-year-old, I should be saying median for all of these numbers instead of averages, and there is a difference. So half the people have more, half have less with the median. The median 45 to 54-year-old has $62,000. The median 35 to 44-year-old has $36,000. And the median 25 to 34-year-old has just under $15,000. So let's focus on the people that are getting close to retirement. 55 to 64 and 65 plus, it's basically about the same. Let's at 88,000, let's call it 100,000. And let's be generous with some assumptions here. Let's assume that represents just a third of the money that they've saved for retirement. So if they've got, again, let's call it 100,000. If they've got 300,000 total saved for retirement, if you use the 4% rule, if you're not familiar with the 4% rule, you can watch this video up here. But it's a rule of thumb. You shouldn't count on that working. You should work with a fee-only financial advisor. But for the sake of a discussion like this, let's call the 4%. Let's use the 4% rule. So 4% of 300,000 is $12,000 a year. So roughly, your investments are going to give you $1,000 a month to support your retirement. And, not many of us think that that's enough, right? You also have Social Security, and according to bankrate.com, and these are very fresh numbers, February of 2023, according to bankrate.com, the average Social Security check for an American is $1,693.88. So let's call that $1,700, right? So between the two, you've got $2,700 a month to spend in retirement. Is that enough? You can probably scrape by on that, but I think most of us want more. So if you're close to the median American, what do? Right? Well, here's the thing is if you have 5 years before you retire, I think that there's a lot you can do. If you have 10 years, there's even more you can do. And that's really what the focus of the video is. Before I jump into what you can do and what some of the solutions are, if you're enjoying this video, I'd really like you to give it a like. As the kids say, thumbs for likes and subs for love. And as I say, comments for Azul. I really enjoy reading your comments, so leave me a comment. Okay, let's talk about some solutions. And let's assume you still have 10 years until retirement. What can you do? I think you can do a lot. And as I said, if you're close to these numbers, I think you can increase those cash flows by about 40% if you do the right things over the next 10 years. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be super hard. You don't have to start flipping houses or some get-rich-quick scheme. I'm in favor of the get-rich-slow and do the right things theme. Okay. So number one is the thing that's really going to move the needle is can you level up your skills? Can you get paid more in your current job, and or can you do a job on the side and maybe bring in an extra $1,000 a month? I think $1,000 a month from a side job is very doable for many Americans, and I'm going to share with you some ideas for doing that. And also leveling up your skills and getting some nice raises at work, I think is very doable for a lot of Americans. So let's talk about some of these things. The first one is coding. Teach yourself to code. People will say, that's something for people in their 20s and 30s. Not so, my friend, not so at all. I taught myself to code when I was 50 years old. I wasn't looking for a job, but there's a shortage of coders, and I had a number of people reach out to me particularly if you're learning the latest and greatest tool. You know, every 3 or 4 years, there's a new framework that comes out. When I was learning to code, it was something called React Native, which lets you build an app for your iPhone, and it also works on Android. So that was the hottest thing. And everybody was learning it at the same time I was. And I built an app for my phone, and there's a public place where you store your code. It's called GitHub. And recruiters saw that, and they started reaching out to me. I wasn't looking for a job, but it was kind of cool to get called. So if I can do that at 50 years old, I think most of us can do that. So give that some thought. Least expensive way to learn that is there's a website called udemy.com, U-D-E-M-Y, udemy.com. I've taken a lot of courses. I also paid for this course for both of my daughters. There's an instructor on Udemy. This is not sponsored, but Colt, if you want to sponsor me, I'm open to sponsorships. But there's an instructor called Colt Steele. It's a really cool name, isn't it? And it's his God-given name, C-O-L-T, and then Steele, S-T-E-E-L. You can buy his course for under $25 on Udemy. It'll take you 100 days to learn everything there if you put in about 10 to 15 hours a week. It's a very complete course, costs next to nothing, so it's worth giving a shot and seeing if you enjoy it. Okay, another thing, remember how I talked about when new tools come out and like React Native I mentioned earlier. The new technology now, like when I was graduating business school in 1995, the new technology was the internet. Well, there's a whole nother landscape change taking place that's similar to the internet, how the internet changed things in the mid to late 90s. And that's artificial intelligence. And you might think, wow, you know, that's really deep, hard work. And it is to program it. But to interact with the AI and to ask the right questions so you get valuable insights and valuable answers, that's called AI prompts. And they call people that know how to do that AI prompt engineers. And that's something you can learn very quickly. I mean, I really think that in a couple months, again, jump on Udemy. There's a site called Coursera, which has got top tier universities put some of their courses online for free. So Coursera is another thing you can learn from. So AI prompt engineering, I think, should be on your radar screen. Okay, the other is writing for other companies. You know, there's a lot of small companies. Every company's in the business is selling their services and their products. If you can help them with that, help them with verbiage for their website, help them with their sales letter, help them with their outreach efforts, help them with their emails. If you can help them with that, you know, and that's something you can contract, and you can be like a contractor and you offer your services maybe on a site like Fiverr or Upwork. But that's a skill you can learn in a couple months as well. Any skill where you can increase your sales skills. Again, every company is selling products or services. So in your existing company, if you have a chance to be in a sales role and to learn sales and to do that well, that's a great way to level up your skills and add value for your employer. And hopefully you get recognized financially for doing that. So sales is another one. Then the final one I'm going to share, which is one almost everybody watching this channel can do, and that's teaching English online, primarily to kids, obviously, that are non-native English speakers. And a lot of people think, you know, well, if I'm going to teach a 10-year-old in Korea how to speak English, I need to know how to speak Korean. That is not true. These platforms that match teachers up with students, or really the parents of the students, they don't want you speaking, in this case, Korean. They don't want you speaking in the child's native language. And you know what? Those jobs pay $15 to $30 an hour, and they're pretty easy to get. And one website, one platform, again, no affiliation, it's just something I know about, is called VIPkids.com. So that's one place to start looking. Okay, so, you know, I think there's a good chance that you could level up your skills and or have a side hustle that makes an extra $1,000 a month. And this is going to move the needle. Wait till I get to the end and you'll see where the extra 40% comes from in retirement. So hang with me, and while you're hanging with me, hit that like button and leave Azul a comment, please. Okay, let's keep going. Another way is to build up your savings. for retirement is, instead of driving a new car, drive a used car. I've said it over and over, but I think you can save about $400 a month doing that. You don't need to drive a junker. You can just buy a car that's 3 or 4 years old. That's a great car. And I think you can save about $400 a month. Let's call that $5,000 a year. Airbnb, can you Airbnb one of your rooms, a few weekends every month? Maybe. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? You've got somebody else living with you part-time, but that's a way. Could you save an extra $5,000 a year? Yeah, I think you could. Be sure you comply with all the local regulations and your insurance covers you, because you don't want anybody suing you. Okay, the other thing is, could you cut expenses by about $400 a month? That amounts to about $13 a day. I think a lot of us could. Now, I'm a big fan of what I call affordable luxuries. If you and your spouse enjoy going out to Starbucks and enjoying a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, you know what's more expensive than a $5 cup of coffee? Divorce, right? So if you're doing something with your spouse, if you're doing something that keeps you connected with your friends, it's affordable luxury. I'm not a fan of cutting back on that, but is there a way that you could save an extra $10 a day, $13 a day, $400 a month, which is another $5,000 a year? Okay, so if we add all this up, right, we got $1,000 a month from leveling up your skills, whether that's a side hustle or getting a raise at work. Driving a used car, that's going to save $5,000. Airbnb will earn you maybe $5,000. Cut expenses, that might save you another $5,000. In total, if you add all that up, it's $25,000. So let's assume you've got 10 years until retirement. Does that $25,000 move the needle for you? You better believe it moves the needle for you. It really does, in a very positive way. Over 10 years, if you have that money invested at 8%, that's going to grow to $350,000. At 10%, it's going to grow to about $400,000. And at 6%, it's going to grow to about $330,000. But let's just say it grows to $300,000. What does that do? Again, using the rule of 4%. That's an extra $12,000 a year, an extra $1,000 a month. So now you've gone from $2,700 a month. Remember, $1,700 from Social Security, $1,000 from the $300,000 that I generously said that the average American has. Remember, that was all based on that 401k balance of about $100,000. So they were at $300,000 in savings. That generated $1,000 a month. $1,700 from Social Security, $2,700. Get this extra $1,000 a month by saving this $25,000 a year. That's a big deal. Your spending, your cash flows available in retirement have just increased by 40%. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, again, as the kids say, thumbs for likes, subs for love, and comments for Azul. If you like this video, I know you're going to like this video up here that talks about average income in retirement for a 65-year-old. And this video over here is my most popular video, 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.